Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to understand something. I spent 23 years working the overnight shift at Morrison's Auto Repair in Cleveland. 23 years of coming home at 6 in the morning, smelling like motor oil and brake fluid. My hands stained black, no matter how hard I scrubbed. My wife Linda used to joke that I'd probably be buried with grease under my fingernails. She died when our daughter Sarah was 15. Heart attack. Sudden. One day she was there, the next she wasn't. I raised Sarah alone after that. Worked doubles, sometimes triples, to make sure she had everything. Dance lessons, math tutors, SAT prep courses, college application fees. I drove a truck that was older than she was because every extra dollar went into her education fund. She got into Northwestern. Full ride? No. But I made it happen. Loans, second jobs. I even sold Linda's car that I'd been keeping in the garage. Sarah graduated with honors, got her MBA, landed a job at Preston & Associates, one of those consulting firms where everyone wears suits that cost more than my monthly rent. I was proud. God, I was so proud. Last Tuesday, I was under a Chevy Silverado when my phone buzzed. I wiped my hands on my coveralls and checked the screen. Text from Sarah. Dad, about the engagement party this weekend. I need to talk to you. I smiled. Sarah had gotten engaged 3 months ago to Marcus Whitfield, investment banker. His family had money, the kind of money that came with country club memberships and vacation homes in the Hamptons. The engagement party was at the Whitfield estate in Lake Forest. Sarah had been talking about it for weeks. What's up, sweetheart? I texted back. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, I think it's better if you don't come. I read it twice. 3 times. The words didn't change. What do you mean? I already got the day off. Bought a new suit. The dots again. Longer this time. Marcus's family is going to be there. All of his colleagues. People from the firm. Complicated. I stood there in the garage bay, oil dripping from the Silverado's pan into the catch basin, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Sarah, I'm your father. Why would it be complicated? This time, no dots. Just a wall of text that came through all at once. Dad, you don't understand. These people, they're different. Marcus's father plays golf with the CEO of Goldman Sachs. His mother sits on the board of the Art Institute. They're going to ask what you do, where you went to school, what clubs you belong to. I can't explain why my father is a mechanic who didn't go to college. They wouldn't understand. Marcus says his family already has concerns about our different backgrounds. Please, Dad, just this once. Let me handle this my way. I saved the message. Screenshot it. Then I walked to the small office at the back of the garage and sat down in the creaky chair that had been there since before I started. My hands were shaking. 23 years of overnight shifts. 23 years of missing sleep, missing life, missing everything except work so Sarah could have better. And now I was an embarrassment, ammunition for people to use against her. I didn't respond to her text. I sat there until my boss, Eddie, knocked on the doorframe. Rob? You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost. Yeah, I said. Yeah, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I went home that night to my apartment in Lakewood. 1 bedroom, kitchen, living room with the same furniture Linda and I had bought 30 years ago. The couch had a burn mark from when Sarah was 10 and tried to make popcorn on the stove. The coffee table had her crayon marks underneath, from when she was 5 and didn't understand that wood wasn't paper. I sat on that couch and pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, looked at the savings account. $75,000. I'd been planning to give it to Sarah as a wedding gift, down payment on a house, or seed money for whatever she wanted to do. It was supposed to be her safety net, her freedom, money, the same way I'd given her everything else. I looked at that number for a long time. Then I opened my messages and scrolled back through the last few months. Sarah's texts had changed. They used to be full of love. You, Dad, and thank you for everything. Now they were short, distant. When she called, which wasn't often, She'd ask about me for maybe 30 seconds before launching into stories about Marcus, about work, about brunch at places with names I couldn't pronounce. Last month, she'd told me she was rebranding herself professionally. Said she was using Mom's maiden name, Ashford, at work instead of our last name, Kowalski. It just sounds more polished, she'd said. Polished. Like Kowalski. Sounded dirty. I thought about Linda then. What would she say? Linda, who'd been so proud of her Polish heritage, who'd made pierogi from scratch every Christmas, who'd never pretended to be anything other than exactly what she was. She'd be heartbroken. I made a decision that night. But I didn't act on it right away. I wanted to be sure, wanted to know if this was really who Sarah had become, or if it was just wedding stress, just temporary insanity from being around Marcus's world too much. Thursday. I drove to Northwestern. There was a fundraiser event in the evening. Something Sarah had mentioned she'd be attending with Marcus. I didn't go inside. I just watched from my truck across the street, saw her arrive in Marcus's BMW, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my mortgage. Comfortable. Like she belonged there, like she'd forgotten where she came from. I watched for an hour. At one point, an older couple approached them. The man wore a suit that fit him the way only custom tailoring can. The woman had pearls. Real ones. They talked to Sarah and Marcus for maybe 10 minutes. I saw Sarah's body language, the way she stood straighter, smiled wider. The way she gestured when she spoke. More animated than I'd seen her in months. Then the man asked her something, and I saw her face change. Just for a second. A flicker of something uncomfortable. She said something back, short, then laughed, and changed the subject. The couple moved on. I knew what he'd asked. I could read it in her expression, in the way Marcus put his hand on her back. Reassuring. Won the 20 team. Won the 20 team. Won the 20 team. He'd asked about her family, and she'd deflected. I drove home. Friday morning, I called Northwestern's development office, asked about their scholarship programs. They connected me with a woman named Patricia Chen, the director of donor relations. I want to establish a scholarship, I told her, for students from blue-collar families, kids whose parents work with their hands, mechanics, construction workers, factory workers, kids who are the first in their family to go to college. That's wonderful, Mr. Kowalski. What amount were you thinking? $75,000. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? $75,000. One-time donation. I want it to be called the Linda Kowalski Memorial Scholarship. My wife's name. She believed everyone deserved a chance at education, no matter where they started. Patricia's voice changed, became warmer. Mr. Kowalski. That's incredibly generous. Can I ask what inspired this? My daughter graduated from Northwestern. Your school gave her opportunities. I want other kids like her, kids whose parents work hard in jobs that people look down on. I want them to have those same opportunities, without having to be ashamed of where they came from. We talked for another hour. She sent me forms. I filled them out that night, sitting at my kitchen table with a beer I didn't drink. By Saturday morning, the money was transferred. All of it. Every penny. The scholarship would be announced on Monday. Patricia said they'd do a press release, maybe even get some local news coverage. Human interest story, she called it. Blue-collar worker honors late wife by funding education for kids like his daughter. I didn't tell her the whole truth. Didn't tell her my daughter wouldn't be caught dead, acknowledging she was one of those kids anymore. Saturday, the day of the engagement party. I didn't go, obviously, but I did text Sarah. Hope the party is wonderful, sweetheart. I love you. She responded with a heart emoji. Nothing else. I spent the day organizing my apartment. I found old photo albums, the kind Linda used to make before everything went digital. Sarah, as a baby. Sarah's first day of kindergarten. Sarah, in her Girl Scout uniform, selling cookies door to door. Sarah at her high school graduation. Me and Linda on either side of her, all of us grinning like idiots. There was a photo from her Northwestern graduation too. Just the two of us that time, because Linda was gone. Sarah in her cap and gown, me in my one good suit, the same suit I'd bought for Linda's funeral. We were standing in front of the campus fountain. Sarah was holding her diploma. I had my arm around her shoulders. She'd written on the back, "Thank you for everything, Dad. I couldn't have done this without you. I'll make you proud. Love always. Sarah." I looked at that photo for a long time. Monday morning, I was back at the garage when my phone started ringing. Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Then the text started. "Dad, call me. Dad, I need to talk to you. Dad, call me now." I waited until lunch break. Walked outside to the parking lot and called her back. "Where is it?" "No hello. No how are you?" Just raw panic in her voice. "Where's what, Sarah?" "The money, Dad. The $75,000. I went to the bank. I was going to ask you about it. About the wedding gift. I know you'd been saving, and I wanted to talk about maybe splitting it. Using some for the wedding, and some for later. But it's gone. The account is empty. Where is it?" I leaned against my truck. The sun was bright. Too bright. I donated it. "You?" "What?" "I donated it to Northwestern. Scholarship fund. For kids from blue-collar families. Kids whose parents work jobs they might be embarrassed by later." Silence. Then, "Dad, what are you talking about?" That was your retirement. That was everything. It was my money to do with as I pleased. And I was pleased to give it to kids who won't forget where they came from." Her voice dropped, became harder. "This is about the party. This is about you telling me not to come because you're ashamed of me. I never said I was ashamed. You didn't have to say it, Sarah. Marcus's family wouldn't understand. They're different. You're a mechanic who didn't go to college. You said all of that. Dad, you're twisting my words. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me? From what? From people knowing I raised you? From people knowing I worked myself to the bone so you could have everything they have? That's not protection. Sarah. That's erasure." I heard her breathing. Fast, shallow. "The scholarship announcement went out this morning," I continued. "Northwestern's press office sent it to local media. Chicago Tribune picked it up. They interviewed me. Took my picture in the garage. Want to know what the headline is? Cleveland mechanic donates life savings to honor late wife, fund education for working-class kids. They mentioned you. By the way, said my daughter was a Northwestern grad and that inspired me to give back. Used your name. Sarah Kowalski. You didn't. I did. They publish tomorrow. Should be a nice human interest piece. Dad, do you have any idea what you've done? Marcus's family, my firm, everyone is going to see that. They're going to know. Going to know what? That your father is a mechanic? That you came from a working-class family? That you weren't born with a silver spoon? Sarah, those aren't secrets. Those are facts. And if you're ashamed of facts, that's your problem, not mine. This isn't fair. You're right. It's not fair. It wasn't fair when your mother died and I had to figure out how to be both parents. It wasn't fair when I worked 70-hour weeks so you could take music lessons. It wasn't fair when I sold her car, the last piece of her I had, to pay your tuition. None of it was fair. But I did it anyway, because I loved you, because I wanted you to have better. I do have better. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I worked hard for this life, Dad. I earned it. You earned it on my back, on your mother's back, on the backs of every overnight shift I ever worked. And now that you've got your MBA and your consulting job and your investment banker fiancé, you think you can just, what? Pretend none of that happened? Pretend you climbed up all by yourself? She was crying now. I could hear it. Dad, please, can't we just talk about this? Can't you undo it? No, the money's gone. It's going to help 20 kids over the next 10 years. Kids who won't be ashamed of their parents for having the wrong kind of job. I wasn't ashamed. Yes, you were. You are. And that's something you're going to have to live with. I hung up. The calls kept coming. 52 of them, over the next 48 hours. Sarah, mostly. But also Marcus a few times. Even a call from someone who identified herself as Marcus's mother, asking if we could discuss this situation privately. I didn't answer any of them. The Tribune article ran Wednesday. Front page of the Metro section. There was a photo of me in my coveralls, standing in the garage bay, holding a picture of Linda. The article was kind. They talked about Linda's death, about raising Sarah alone, about wanting to honor my wife's belief in education. They quoted me, "I want kids who come from families like mine to know that where you start doesn't have to determine where you end up. But when you get there, don't forget where you came from." The article mentioned Sarah by name, mentioned her success, called her the inspiration for her father's generosity. My phone exploded after that. Friends from the old neighborhood, guys from the garage, people I hadn't talked to in years. They thought it was beautiful, thought I was doing something incredible. Sarah's phone probably exploded too, but for different reasons. Thursday, she showed up at the garage. I was in the middle of an oil change when I saw her BMW pull into the lot. She got out wearing a work outfit, heels on concrete, looking completely out of place. I wiped my hands and walked over. "Sarah, we need to talk." So talk. She looked around at the garage, at Eddie and the other guys pretending not to watch. "Can we go somewhere private?" "Office." I led her to the back. She sat in the plastic chair across from my desk, the chair customers used. I stayed standing. "Everyone knows now," she said. "Everyone at the firm. Marcus's parents. They all saw the article. And they're asking questions. About why I never mentioned you. About why I use Mom's maiden name at work. About why they'd never met you. About why they'd never met you. About why they'd never met you." "What did you tell them?" "The truth. That we'd been distant. That I was trying to establish my own identity. That's not the truth. The truth is, you were embarrassed." She looked down at her hands. "Maybe I was. Maybe I still am. But Dad, I'm also scared. Marcus's mother called me into lunch yesterday. She said the article was quite touching. But she also said that Marcus comes from a family with certain expectations. She said they're friends, they're business associates, they run in circles where image matters, and you're worried you don't have the right image anymore. I'm worried they'll think I'm not good enough for Marcus." I sat down then, looked at my daughter, this stranger in expensive clothes sitting in my garage office. "Sarah, if Marcus or his family think you're not good enough because your father is a mechanic, then Marcus isn't good enough for you. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Either he loves you for who you really are, all of you, including where you came from, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, you're about to marry the wrong man." She was quiet for a long time. Then, I saw the scholarship details. The Linda Kowalski Memorial Scholarship. "It's beautiful, Dad. Mom would have loved it. I know. I wish. I wish I'd thought of it. I wish I'd been the one to do something like that for her." "You still could. You make good money now. You could contribute. Add to it. Turn it into something bigger." She nodded. Didn't commit, but nodded. "The article said you told them I was your inspiration. You were. Just not the way they think." She flinched at that. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't good enough. I'm sorry I tried to hide you. I'm sorry I let Marcus's world make me forget mine. I don't need sorry, Sarah. I need you to decide who you want to be. The person who's ashamed of a mechanic father, or the person who's proud that her mechanic father sacrificed everything to give her opportunities. Because you can't be both. What if I don't know how to be the second person anymore? Then you figure it out. Or you don't. But that's your choice to make." She stood up, wiped her eyes. Her makeup was smudged. She looked younger somehow, more like the girl in those photo albums. "Can I still call you? Even if I'm figuring it out? I'm your father, Sarah. You can always call me, but I won't pretend to be something I'm not. Not for you. Not for Marcus. Not for anyone. She nodded, walked to the door, turned back. The wedding is in 6 months. I'd like you to walk me down the aisle. If you still want to, we'll see where we are in 6 months. She left. I watched her BMW pull out of the lot and disappear into traffic. That was 3 weeks ago. She's called a few times since. Short calls. Awkward. We're not okay yet. Maybe we won't be. I don't know. But I do know this. The first Linda Kowalski Memorial Scholarship was awarded last week. A kid named James. From Detroit. His father is a factory worker. His mother cleans houses. He's starting at Northwestern in the fall, studying engineering. When they told him about the scholarship, he cried. His parents cried. They sent me a thank you card with a picture of the whole family. They're wearing church clothes, standing in front of their house, smiling, like they just won the lottery. I put that picture on my desk, right next to the photo of Sarah's graduation. Sometimes Sarah is worth more than the money I spent raising her. Sometimes she isn't. I'm still trying to figure out which one is true. But those 20 kids who'll get Linda's scholarship over the next decade, they're worth it. Every penny. Every overnight shift. Every sacrifice. And if Sarah can't see that, if she can't understand why I chose them over her inheritance, then maybe I failed her in a different way than I thought. Maybe I gave her everything except the most important thing, the understanding that who you are matters more than what you have. Linda would have known that. Linda did know that. I just hope Sarah figures it out before it's too late.